Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and in my video I made the other day of me doing a strict standing press with 225, a topic that came up was that a lot of people don't understand the difference between wrist wraps and wrist straps, and someone even put in the comments, you should probably make a video on this. So let me put on my +5 head of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. And there was a lot of back and forth there, and there were people calling people idiots and everything else, and I may have even done it to one guy. But I realized, you know what, this is an educational channel. This is a strength and conditioning and a fitness channel, and rather than mock people who are maybe less experienced lifters who actually don't know the difference, it would probably be better to educate people, right? Make fun of someone because they don't know something you think they should know probably isn't particularly productive, is it? Because once you teach them, now they know. That's a better solution, much better solution, because we all started somewhere. So here is the thing. I've got a strap here. I don't have a set of wraps to show you because I don't own a pair. I don't plan on owning a pair. I don't really have a use for wrist straps. But I do have a wrist wrap. And here's the confusion. I want to explain the difference between the two and why they are used. With a wrist wrap, this wraps around your wrist. You have a thumb loop to help you put it on. However, if you use these in competitions, you have to pull the thumb loop off. So a wrist wrap, this is how it works. Look, you wrap it around your wrist. It helps lock your wrist into position. Do not confuse these with elbow or knee wraps because those serve a totally different purpose. And if you're in a comp, you got to pull this loop off so that your hand is open. All right, the hand is completely open. None of this makes contact with a bar. This is here purely to support your wrists, and I'll get to in a minute why these are used for that. Whereas in a strap is a strap or a hook, some cases hooks, that you wrap around a bar because you're not strong enough to grip it, because people lack grip strength. Now, a lot of people will say things like, well, I need it for really high volume pulling. And the question I would ask, do you? You sure you do? Because maybe if your grip is giving out, you need to work on your grip more. The other problem with that is, again, a point of contention here, I suppose, but it's one that's not known by many people. When your grip starts giving out on a weight that you should be strong enough to grip, that you should have the work capacity to grip, and your grip starts giving out, that's a sign of peripheral fatigue. That is a sign that you have now probably exceeded your maximum recoverable volume on some sort of upper body exercise or some sort of exercise that involves the arms. In other words, it's a sign that you are reaching eventually an overtrained condition. It's a sign you're probably starting to overreach. It's a sign you should probably consider a deload in your training, or that you probably need to get more sleep, more rest, more food. Something needs to change because you are exceeding your maximum recoverable volume and your grip starts to give out. It doesn't mean that you need to strap up and keep going. Because again, that's how you're going to burn out, that's how you're going to get injuries, things like that. So if you know your grip is strong enough to handle it and it's giving out, that's a valuable feedback tool for you. And if you put on straps, guess what? You lose a valuable feedback tool. A valuable feedback tool. Furthermore, if you're not strong enough, then you need to do additional grip work, not less. Lifting straps help you lift a weight you're not strong enough to grip. Well, that's again not useful if you want to build grip strength, you want to build forearms, or you want to be all around strong. I don't think that's particularly useful, and I disagree even with the coaches, and there's a lot of coaches who do it, that will have their guys do their volume pulling with the straps. You need to build your grip strength. You need to be doing more grip work, not less. You're not getting enough volume in your grip training. So you need to figure out how to do that and then add extra grip work every week because your grip is too weak. There's your solution. The other thing is straps are not considered raw in any sport. I think strongman might be the only strength sport that allows wraps, but they also oftentimes allow other stuff that's not considered raw. It's not raw lifting once you go to straps. And if you lift a weight with a strap, you're not allowed to compare your lift to someone else who does it raw. Just like if you wear knee wraps, you can't compare your squat to someone else's squat who isn't in knee wraps unless you're at least 100 pounds stronger than them, in which case that's probably fair game. In other words, if you squat 605 with wraps and someone else squats 500, okay, that's fair play. But if you're squatting 550 in reps versus his 500, that's not considered strong. You're not stronger than him. He can probably out squat you. Just throwing that out there. Now, the reps, and so straps are there to help you lift a weight that you're not strong enough to grip. Also, they can make the lift easier because you're not having to focus on your grip as much. But they do change the bar path and everything as well. So in some cases, you don't even get the carryover you would want on the sport-specific aspect of the lift. It maybe people are doing it for general hypertrophy, but if you're trying to learn to, say, do a deadlift or anything else, and you're doing it with straps with your volume, you are going to use a different bar path and a different technique with the straps than you are without them. That's just simple reality. So it may not be helping you directly as much as you think. Now, wrist wraps are allowed in every strength sport, even raw. They are allowed in the weightlifting in the Olympics. You go look at them. There's a lot of these guys are wearing them. All raw powerlifting federations allow them. All of them, including the IPF for the bench press, for the squat. Yeah, you can wear these when you squat. It's an interesting point there. It can help you with wrist positioning so that you get less elbow pain. All right, it can help you with wrist positioning even on a squat sometimes. I was just throwing that out there. It's allowed in strength lifting, which is a completely raw sport that doesn't allow wraps or straps of any type. Even boxers wrap their hands and they wrap their wrist up oftentimes. Let that sink in because of the impact. The whole point of these is to put hydrostatic pressure on the wrist. You actually are not stronger in these. Some people might get a few pounds out of these, but generally speaking, these don't increase your max because they don't allow you to produce more force. What they do, they get you in the habit of, one, keeping your wrists a little straighter, because you're always going to have some bend in the wrist on a press. Don't let anyone convince you that you can be completely straight wrist. You can't. Only a handful of people are anatomically built to do that. You might be fine with 100 pounds, but trust me, when you get up to 300 pounds on your bench, you're not going to have it locked out like a fist. Best of luck to you if you think you are. But this will help keep the wrist bones in a little better alignment, and it will raise hydrostatic pressure a little bit in the wrist. Now, the reason for that, it reduces inflammation. Because one of the problems we run into when you start doing a lot of heavy lifting or you start hitting maxes on any sort of press, or frequent maxes or really heavy lifting, it tends to build a lot of pressure and inflammation in the wrists. And what's going to happen is going to start limiting the amount of training you can do because of the discomfort. When your wrists start hurting every time you press, and if a handful of people have big enough wrists that this doesn't become a problem. I've seen guys out there who can bench over 400 pounds without these. They're the exception, not the norm. For most people, once you start approaching probably about 300, if you don't wear these, you're going to start noticing wrist pain. Same thing, you start for me, overhead pressing, when I get to a point to where I start overhead pressing anything over about 180, with any degree of regularity, the same thing, my wrists hurt. And they don't just hurt when I'm at the gym, they hurt later when I'm trying to sleep, because you're having inflammation in there. These are used to reduce pain and inflammation. That's it. And it's not because of warmth, it is purely because of maintaining a better bone position and raising pressure in there so that you don't get as much pressure buildup in the joint, because that gets inflamed. And when you start doing maxes, particularly with any degree of frequency or any really heavy pressing with any high degree of frequency, you're going to have to use these. The vast majority, 95% of lifters will have to use these because they are a lifesaver in terms of pain, inflammation, things like that. And it's just because we are capable of getting stronger on our pressing and pushing that our wrist joints can easily handle. It's one reason things like push-ups are not really a good or useful exercise. It's just, your wrist position on them is inappropriate to get really strong. But yeah, these are a valuable tool for that. They're considered to be raw. They're not considered to be cheating in any sport. Even sports that completely ban straps, completely ban knee wraps, elbow wraps. These are considered to be raw because they don't allow you to actually lift more weight. A handful of people, they might, because they just can't keep their wrists in a good position so that they get a little bit of a power bleed. But for the most part, They're injury prevention and inflammation prevention. That's all they do. They don't help you lift more weight. So they're not considered to be cheating. They're allowed in every single strength and power sport that I can think of off the top of my head. I can't think of an exception. There might be one. I don't know of it. So you guys need to understand the difference. These are there to just reduce inflammation. And I can tell you right now, you start pressing heavy every day like I do, you're not going to keep it up long without a pair of these. You're not going to do Bulgarian style pressing without a pair of wrist straps. And straps are a totally different animal. They're not used for the same purpose. They're a totally different device. And they are not allowed in the majority of strength sports because they are considered to be cheating. For obvious reasons, because you're just not strong enough to grip the weight, so therefore the strap lets you grip the weight. And I mean, people can literally add 200 pounds sometimes who have no grip, can sometimes deadlift 200 pounds more with a pair of straps than they can without them. That's how big of a difference they make. They require you to have no grip strength. So yeah, they do allow you to cheat and lift more weight than you are capable of lifting. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.